So there's this saying, did you know? A lie can travel the world before the truth even wakes up. Well, it turns out that there's a lot of reasons why this saying exists. In today's video, we're going to take a look at 9 psychological reasons why lies spread faster than the truth. 1. Lies trigger stronger emotions than facts do. So when we think about facts, we tend to think about things like, I went to the store yesterday, it's raining outside, or the sky's blue. These are all very dull statements, right? Now, if someone were to tell you that one of your friends died in a freak accident earlier in the morning, how would you feel? You would probably feel shocked, confused, scared, maybe even angry. See, this is what I mean by the fact that lies trigger stronger emotions. And this makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. Humans have evolved to pay attention to things that are most emotionally salient. Things that make us feel really strong emotions stand out to us because they could mean the difference between life or death. If our ancestors hadn't paid attention to things that evoked strong emotions, they wouldn't have survived long enough to pass on their genes. This means that we are biologically predisposed to pay more attention to things that make us feel strongly rather than to things that are simply factual. And lies usually trigger these strong emotions much better than the truth does. Why? Because liars usually embellish their stories. They add extra details that evoke these emotions. For example, let's say you hear the following statement. Sarah fell down the stairs at work and broke her leg. Now, let's say someone else tells the exact same story with a few extra details. Sarah was running down the stairs at work while carrying hot coffee when she suddenly slipped and fell. She broke her leg and had to be taken to the hospital by ambulance. Which story seems more interesting? Which one made you picture the scene more clearly in your head? I'm guessing that for most people, it was the second story. And this is exactly what I mean. When we hear a lie, we tend to picture the situation more vividly in our heads. We might even start to imagine what we would do or what we would say in that situation. And this process requires us to use our emotional centers as well as our creative centers. Whereas hearing a fact doesn't really require us to do anything. So, as you can see, the fact that lies evoke stronger emotions than the truth do is one of the main reasons why they spread so quickly. 2. The brain loves novelty. Think about it. If you had the choice between eating the same food every single day for the rest of your life or having a different food every single day, which one would you choose? Assuming that both options were healthy, I think we would all unanimously choose to have something new every single day. Even though we might enjoy some foods more than others, humans are wired to pursue novelty. In fact, researchers peg this as something called the midbrain dopamine system. Essentially, the reward circuit in our brains gets a little boost of dopamine whenever we experience something new. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that makes us feel good and motivates us to repeat behaviors. So basically, the novelty causes the reward center in our brain to activate, and then we are more likely to repeat the behavior. In this case, spreading the lie. 3. People share info that's shocking without checking whether it's true or not. Ever received a message from one of your friends claiming that they quit their job or that they got married? And then a few days later, you bump into them at the grocery store and none of those things are true. Sometimes people will share things that aren't true because they want to sound important or relevant. They want other people to pay attention to them. Or sometimes they share these things because they genuinely believe them to be true. But either way, when they share this false information, they're not thinking critically about whether it's true or not. So this is yet another reason why lies spread faster than the truth. 4. Social media algorithms amplify extreme content. We've talked a lot about social media and how it affects our psychology. Social media platforms use complex algorithms to decide what content they show their users. These algorithms are always changing and evolving, but in general, they tend to favor shocking, extreme content. This is because this type of content evokes strong emotions. Remember point no. 1. And remember that social media algorithms were created to maximize user engagement. So they naturally gravitate towards showing users the things that they will engage with the most. And unfortunately, shocking content tends to be fake news. No. 5. A lie is simple. While the truth is complex, let's imagine 2 scenarios. Scenario no. 1. Your neighbor comes up to you and asks you who won the soccer game last night. The game was really close, but in the end, Team A won 2-1. That's scenario. No. 1. Here's scenario. No. 2. Your neighbor comes up to you and asks you who won the game last night. As you're about to leave your house, you notice that one of your neighbor's trash cans is overflowing and it's attracting flies. You also notice that his lawn hasn't been mowed in a couple of weeks and his mailbox is crooked. So when he asks you who won the game, you tell him, "Oh, Team B won." There was a big fight after the game and the coach of Team A was fired. "Wow, okay," he says. He then rushes inside to tell his wife everything that you just told him. A few hours later, a group of soccer enthusiasts that are fans of Team A are walking past your house. They hear your neighbor talking passionately about how Team A lost, and they stop and listen to what he has to say. One of them asks him where he heard this from, and he tells them that he heard it from you. So now these guys are going to go to their friend's house and tell him the exact same thing. And this is how fake news spreads. See, this is an exaggerated version of what happens whenever we repeat something that we heard somewhere. Every time a person repeats something, they might embellish it or change it to fit their narrative, or simply because they misunderstood what they originally heard. This is why lies spread so easily. No. 6. Our brains prefer stories over data. In part 2 of this series, we talked about how misinformation spreads through social networks. But what causes us to believe in these lies? Well, one of the main factors is that our brains simply love stories more than data. Stories entertain us, teach us lessons, and help us make sense of the world around us. Plus, they're just fun to tell. Data, on the other hand, isn't exactly entertaining. Data is boring. Sure, there are ways to present data in an interesting way, but in general, it's just not as interesting as stories are. So when given the choice between reading a story and reading some data, we'll almost always choose to read the story. No. 7. Truth needs evidence, while lies only need attention. Think about it. Whenever we want to spread a rumor, all we need is a little bit of attention. Someone has to listen to the rumor and then repeat it to someone else. But whenever we want to spread the truth, we need proof. We need hard evidence to back up our claims. We live in a postmodernistic society that values skepticism and questioning. And even if you were to find concrete evidence to support your claims, you still need to convince people to trust you and believe that the evidence is valid. This is why the truth spreads so slowly. And finally, no. 8. We don't spread lies because they're true. We spread them because they're exciting. The most popular lies are the ones that feed our brain's desire for novelty. They're shocking, surprising, and unexpected. But this doesn't mean that they're true. Next time you hear a piece of shocking news, ask yourself, is this really necessary? Does the world really need to know this? If the answer is no, then chances are you've come across a lie. And that's it for today. As always, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe.